yummy. I just made myself some chamomile tea and it is now 9:00 p.m. I am now going to review the books that I read for the month of January. I'm going to go super fast. I'm not going to take so much time with each book. Did read a total of 15 with 1 DNF, but I still consider it read because I ended up like maybe towards the end of the book and I don't want to not count it. I had a pretty good reading month, which consisted of different audiobooks. I did download some books from Libby from my library, so that was really helpful to me. I kind of feel like when I read books from Kindle, I feel like I read them faster than when I have like the paperback cover in front of me, just because I just have my tablet and I'm just like sliding through each page and I feel like it goes a bit faster. I only read 3 paperback books and the rest of them were audiobooks and Kindle apps. So Libby was my best friend and I'm still hoping that I can download more books from there. And yeah, so let's get started with the reviews. Before I even get started, these are my opinions only. Everyone's gonna have different opinions about certain books. A lot of people are not gonna like your favorite book. And it's also okay if you only read 1 book for the month of January. It doesn't really matter. You don't need to read like 15 to 20 books each month in order for you to be a reader. I did set my goal for 200, so this is the reason why I'm like reading a lot, and instead of being on my phone, I'm trying to replace that with reading more. And also, instead of watching Netflix, I'm replacing that with reading and just reading books that I am going to enjoy. Now let's get started with the reviews. I did not even count the total pages that I read for the whole month. So the first book that I read is The Color Purple, and where is it? I didn't even get them together. Friends. Okay, now we're back. I just needed to get the books. I totally forgot to get them. For the month, I started with The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This is a very fast and important read. Quotes that I liked from this book, it is, I think it pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field and don't notice it. Just love the whole themes of this book and how the color purple relates to the whole story and to the main character's life. It's my first read of the year and it was amazing. It deserves all the 5 stars. Really truly enjoyed it, and if you do come across this book, I would truly really recommend you reading it. It has such amazing characters. It is written in forms of letters to God, following Celie, how she has to go through that painful childhood and going through sexual abuse. She gets married off to this other man who doesn't treat her that well, and this man beats her if she does something wrong and basically beats her for anything. She feels that nobody really cares about her until she meets Shug Avery. Shug Avery was one of my favorite characters, as well as Sophia. I think they were such strong and powerful characters and I got to really care for them. Now Celie, she is described as this weak character and I really liked her character development. Now the thing that I did not like about this book is that when Celie begins to write to her sister, that's when it started slowing down. So that's one of the things that I did not like. But other than that, it was just a beautiful story and it's a book that I will always have in my heart. So I did rate it a 5 out of 5. Second book that I read for the year, it is All Boys Aren't Blue. This was another beautiful memoir and it was just so powerful and emotional. It's definitely very life-changing and I feel like a lot of queer boys can really relate to this story. It just talks about a suppression that the author went through and how he was bullied for being different than other people. And they just tell their story of their childhood, and they also tell us the time when they were abused by one of their own family members. And that part was just emotional, and it's a very deep and personal story. I really love how it was just based on family dynamics and how supportive their family was to them. I loved this story. I don't think I even deserve to rate it, so I rated it a 5 out of 5. The next one that I read is Ghost Boys by Jewell Rhodes. It's a perfect short story for middle school teachers and an important read with a lot of historical information. So Ghost Boys discusses racial prejudices and tensions that still haunt America, like police brutality, racism, and events that happened in the past. I loved this book. I think it is a very important read. It was very gripping and heartbreaking. The Ghost Boys follows Jerome, who is shot by a white cop. As he is dying, his ghost stays because he's still confused on what occurred. I mean, he was just playing with a toy gun and he is confused on what happened exactly. His ghost starts roaming around, and then shortly he meets another ghost, Emmett Till. And if you guys know this story about Emmett Till, Emmett was a young boy that was brutally murdered by two men. His murder occurred in the year 1955. And if you don't know about this murder, it is very brutal and it's very horrorizing. I loved how the author incorporated his story in this novel. Perfect for middle school students who don't know about this story or don't know exactly what police brutality is. Emmett, in the story, he begins to help Jerome process what happened to him and help him understand that historical racism was one of the reasons why he was killed by that white cop. It was just full of emotions, and we really felt the main character Jerome's pain as he saw his family going through grief and devastation from his murder, and also the pain as he sees his dead body on the floor. In some parts where he sees other black boys, their ghosts, who have been killed. Also liked how it referenced Peter Pan. I know if you guys know the story of Peter Pan. Peter Pan is a boy that never wants to grow up. And in this case, Jerome, he always dreamt of getting old, and he just wanted to grow up. But unfortunately, that did not occur to him. Also enjoyed how the author incorporated one of the characters, Carlos' tradition, which is Dia de los Muertos, and which is to honor the dead. And that's what Carlos did in the story. Without spoiling it too much, I can just stop right there. Overall, I rated it a 5 out of 5. I did not find anything wrong with this book. It was perfect and very important. The book that I read is In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. I did listen to the audiobook for this one. In this memoir, Carmen tells the story of her abusive lesbian relationship, and it just tackles a very dark and difficult subject. I had never read a memoir like this. It was just very deep, very powerful. At times I just wanted to throw the tablet across the room just because of how deep her writing is and how devastating her relationship was. I rated it a 4 out of 5. The next one that I read is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Jason Reynolds, amazing. Is an amazing author. I have read All American Boys. That is such an emotional story about police brutality. Long Way Down follows Will. He's introduced with telling the reader that his brother just got shot. And throughout the story, he wants revenge for his brother's murder because there are rules in their hood. On his way to find the killer of his brother. When you get in an elevator, what are they called? Like the numbers?
Levels?
Level! Woo! So he gets on the elevator. In each level, a ghost appears, and these ghosts are people who have died the same way that his brother died, from revenge. And that was one of the main themes of this book. Just love the whole plot of the story. I feel like the symbol of the elevator was brilliant. It was amazing how a ghost appears in each level, starting with level number 7. And he has to get to level 1. Very powerful. You guys have to read it. I truly enjoyed it, so I rated it a 5 out of 5. Next book that I read was Daisy Jones and the Six. I listened to the audiobook and it was the best thing ever. I think this is the best audiobook that I have listened to in a while. after the Poet X. One of the quotes that I really liked from this story is, men often think they deserve a sticker for treating women like people. To Jones and the Six, you probably have heard about it because it's been very popular for a while now. It is a novel about the 1970s rock group and their lead singer revealing why they broke up. This was very mysterious in a way because if you are into rock bands and the history of rock bands, you will definitely like the story. And it just begins by interviewing all the ex-rock members of this band, and they start explaining how they got together and how they met Daisy and everything. Obviously they didn't know Daisy until a producer wanted Billy and Daisy to sing together because he thought that they would be successful. I was fascinated with the premise. I mean, 70s rock band. And I automatically thought that this was going to be a crazy one, and it was. Even though it was predictable at times, I still enjoyed it. I loved the ending. I think it was a perfect ending to end the story. I loved how it was written in interview format because we got to know each of the characters' personalities. They were all different. I rated it a 4 out of 5. I did not rate it a 5 just because it was predictable, and it was an okay story. Nothing that impacted me, but I definitely did enjoy reading. The next book is On Earth We're Beautifully Gorgeous. I rated this a 4 out of 5. The reason it's not a 5 is because it was too much for my brain for my brain to understand. I did love the story, the premise. I loved it from beginning to end, how he included all those stories of his mother, also his personal life, you know, his relationship with a white boy and his mom's life in the Vietnam War, how he grew up with his mom's PTSD, and how that grew, and how that turned to, and how that turned to be The next book that I read is Not So Pure and Simple by Lamar Giles. This is a YA contemporary, a very fast and a fun book, easy read with straightforward writing, which I loved. It was very funny. It has themes like religion, male entitlement. I recommend it to young boys. I just feel like the message that this book gives is how young boys can be taught to recognize male entitlement, where men consider themselves entitled to women's bodies, space, and time. Now, the main character, his name is Dell, and he has a crush on a girl. He's been having this crush for a very long time, and he wants to make a move now that this girl has broken up with her boyfriend. He decides to join the church group or whatever that this girl is in, just to try to get with her. And this protagonist was just annoying at times, just because he insisted and insisted. I really hope that young boys who read this book understand how annoying it gets when a girl tells you no and you still insist and insist. So that's a message that hopefully young boys get from this book. What I did not like about this book is that basically the beginning and the middle, it was just Dell trying to get with this girl. The girl just telling him that she wants to be friends only and that she's not ready for a relationship. It also tackles topics like sex education, religion, like I mentioned. I really enjoyed reading from Dell's sister, who is just trying to share a message out to people that it's not okay to tell girls how to treat their bodies. There's like several girls that got pregnant who gave out a message that just because a girl gets pregnant, it is not only her fault, it is also the guy. I rated that a 4 out of 5. Next one, I read a thriller, and this one is A Stranger in the House by Shari Lapena. I did a 2 out of 5 for so many reasons. It is about Tom and Karen, who are newlyweds. They live in New York. Tom finds his wife gone, and it seems like she left in a hurry, and she took her car, and she left her phone in the house. Minutes later, the cops appear in his front yard, and they tell him that his wife is in the hospital and she suffered an accident, and the doctors tell them that she suffered a concussion and she forgot events that occurred, so she's not able to recall what happened to her or what was the cause of the accident that she had. She goes home, maybe like a few days later, she discovers that someone has been inside the house, sees that some of the stuff has been moved. This was a great premise. It was a great plot and I was excited. I was expecting it to be a great plot twist, but I feel because it was written in third-person point of view, we already knew some things, and because it was written in third-person point of view, we knew some things before the detectives. The detectives were so dumb. They took days. They took so long to discover what was going on. And if it was written in third-person point of view, I've read thrillers that have been written in this way, and they're still able to make the reader think something, then turn out to be something completely different. And in this case, the author did not do that. I feel that it was predictable, it was plain, not suspenseful or mysterious like a thriller should be. Other than that, I gave it a 2 because it was a fast read. Give me a good plot twist that will have me in the corner of my bed. Is the amazing Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Wow, this book, it still has me thinking about the situations that occurred in this book. It is science fiction. All I can say is that it was amazing. It was something different. If you do read this book in the future, I would recommend you just going in blind and not knowing anything about it. Just avoid any reviews that talk about the book. Honestly, I was so surprised. It kind of reminded me of The Giver in a way, because they're both dystopian novels and science fiction. It's written in a conversational way, which I really loved, because in a way I felt like the protagonist was talking to me, and we were sitting down for coffee and she was telling me her story. Introduces a story. She's a 31-year-old lady, and she is recalling memories of when she went to a boarding school with her friends Ruth and Tommy. Recalling memories of the past, and that is one of the theme of the story. Memories and friendship, jealousy, dignity of human life and ethics. Very amazing read, and I truly recommend you guys reading it. It was a rating of 5 out of 5. The next one that I read is The Alchemist. So this is a fable about following your dream. I love the message that this book brought. It is philosophical, so it does give amazing messages and about following your dreams, about your own personal. I feel like this story wasn't as impacting as I thought it would be. Thinking of the story, it got kind of repetitive in my opinion. It got kind of slow, and as it has no woman, it only has the gypsy and then the girl that Santiago falls in love with, and who then says that she's gonna wait for him until he has reached his dream of finding this treasure. And for me, I was like, I'm not gonna sit down and wait for a man to achieve their dreams while I sit down. I'm going to get up from here and I'm going to follow my own dream rather than wait for a man. But it's understandable the year that this book was written. This character, Santiago, he's in search of this treasure in the Egyptian pyramids, and on his way to his journey, he finds obstacles that try to bring him down and make him want to give up. I loved the ending. It gave it kind of like a twist. It picked up my rating up to a 3. I think I rated it a 3 or a 4. A 3.5 around there. Next book is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I did create a reading vlog for this one, so I'm not going to really talk so much about it, but what can I say? Elizabeth Acevedo, she's an amazing writer, poet, just able to impact the reader with the beautiful, powerful stories and the amazing characters. So this is a story about grief, and it was very heartbreaking and devastating, and it does follow a real life event that happened in the year 2001 of a plane crash that occurred. I really like how Acevedo, she included that real life event into this story with its own characters, and we follow, I was going to call her Xiomara, but she's from the other book of Elizabeth Acevedo. But anyways, Follows Camino and Yahaira, and they're both grieving for their father's death, who died in the plane crash. As soon as I read that part, it just gave me chills all over. Their father leaves behind secrets and a lot of confusion. Los Camino in the Dominican Republic and Yahaira in New York. They have completely different lives and completely different traditions, but they're very likable characters. In Camino, she's going through danger because there's this man that follows her around, and rated it a 5. The next book that I read is When You Were Everything by Ashley WoodFolk. It's been 27 days that Cleo and her best friend do not talk, nearly a month that they stop talking, and Cleo realizes that they will never be best friends again. Now she wants to erase her memory, the good or bad, so she starts replacing them with other memories, and it's just a story about self-forgiveness, promise of new beginnings, and the courage to start all over again. The story was very easy to read. Really loved the protagonist's character development. I feel like she was portrayed to be very controlling in the beginning, but I'm glad that she is able to learn from that, from the end of her friendship with her ex-best friend. The writing is again very straightforward, and it gives us a message of how painful it could be of losing a best friend, someone that you talk to every single day. It alternates between then and now, which I really enjoyed, and I loved the diversity of the characters and the dialogue. I did it a 4 out of 5. Last book, I read Cinderella is Dead. It's finally something different that I read. If you think that this is any sweet fairy tale, you're completely wrong. This is dark and mysterious and bloody fairy tale. It follows Sophia, who's being forced to go to the ball, and in this ball the men of the kingdom select the girls who they want to marry based on a girl's display of finery. If a suitable match is not found, these girls become servants, and sometimes they are never heard of again. Sophia, she'd much rather marry her best friend Aaron, who she's in love with. Premise was amazing. It felt like it was something different, following a queer black girl who wants to save her town from a male entitlement. There is abuse in this book. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. Those are all the books that I read for the month of January. I hope you guys enjoyed this little review. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.